Hello, my name's Dan Freeman. I live in Modesto, California, and I'm in a group called the Soldiers of the Cross. And so tonight I'm going to give my testimony. And so anyways, I was born in Tulare, Visalia, California, that area, Northern California. And I have a couple brothers and a sister. My mom divorced my dad when I was 4 years old. And we moved up here to Modesto, and immediately we jumped into a church. We didn't have much. We were pretty much poor growing up, and we belonged to the church. It was called Worldwide Church of God, and I just remember whatever we needed, the church was there. They supplied us on nights we didn't have food. She would say pray, and the groceries would just be on the doorstep or whatever. If the car didn't start, she she was a strong, believing woman. She would say, "You kids bow your head and pray," and we did that. And the car would start. We'd get to the mechanic, and he would say, "How'd you guys get here?" And she'd say, "Oh, I drove." She goes, "Oh no, you didn't drive because the distributor cap is cracked and there's like water in it or something." So all this was registering in my head growing up, and my dad wasn't in the picture. Although I did know who my dad was, and so we're living here in Modesto, and my mom meets another man. He's a stepdad, and I remember he was really cool at first. He bought me a big wheel, and some toys and stuff. And then he pulled a car over one day, and he says, "From now on, your name is this name, and you're to call me Dad from here on out." And I thought, okay. And it was a really serious situation. Like he thought he was John Wayne or something, and how he acted and whatnot. Anyways, the reason I bring that up, and I have my older brother, he's 4 years older than me, is he was really hard on us. Everything was so militant. Like everything that you learned was by a backhand or a knuckle sandwich, as he said. Well, this went on day in, day out. The beatings. And you couldn't go, nobody turned anybody in back then. You'd go to church and you'd have marks on your neck and bruises and stuff, and nobody said anything. It's just how you grew up. And so we're cruising along there, and I'm a teenager now, and I remember coming home one day from school. I'm in 8th grade. And my mom and brother went there. I used to try to stay outside and avoid him. I would shoot baskets and play basketball and keep busy. I had a little brother. My mom and the stepdad had a boy, and he's only like 3 or 4 years old. And I was always told to watch him. But if he fell down or got hurt, it was a price to pay. I couldn't even explain, "Oh, he just fell down," or this or that. That happened one day, and I walked into the house, and because he'd ran in there crying to his dad. And he just started wailing on me. And I remember him knocking me down and kicking me. And I remember getting back up. Now remember, mind you, I'm going into my teenage years. I'm starting to get my hormones and everything. And I remember I stood up, and I just remember seeing his face. And he looked at me like, I couldn't explain it. And I went, "What is he looking at?" Like he's seen a ghost. And I saw him look down. Well, what he was looking down was, now I'm standing there and my fists are clenched. Well, that didn't end well for me. He put it on me, and I was laying on the floor, and he was kicking me and putting those boots to me. And I remember he stopped, and I got up and I ran to my room. Now my real dad would pop in every now and then, and he would give me something. He was into hunting and things like that, and he would bring me bow and arrow. He brought me a gun one time. It's like a 22 rifle, and it had like 16 shells in it. You could put it in there, and that was all cool. I loved my dad, but he just wasn't around much, and I kind of figured it out, and like why he didn't want to come around. But that was my dad. Anyways, after this happened, I ran down the hallway and into my room, and that was it. I was done. I went in the closet, I grabbed that gun, and I was going to go back in there and kill him. Nothing was going to stop me. I'd had enough. And so I grabbed the gun, it's all loaded up. I'm coming down the hallway and I turn the corner, boom, I run into my brother, my older brother. And I'm crying. This is so overwhelming to me. And he goes, Dan, what's going on? What's going on? And I told him, and he sees my face and I'm bleeding. And he took me outside and we went and sat out in the backyard and we even sat up on the roof. And he says, you know what? I'm going to stop going to school at, Turlock State. I'm going to stop working over here and I'm going to go get a full-time job and you're moving out with me. So we told Mom and I moved out with them. And so the next day she got a hold of us and said, she's divorcing him. So we moved out all over summer. It was like for 3 months, and I finally went back home. He was gone. The stepdad was gone. But so now I'm in high school. All I did was I used all this energy I had. I didn't know why. I like lifting weights. So I'd lift weights. Anytime I tried to do that with the stepdad, he would take it from me. So if you had a weight in your room and I would try to do curls or work out, I'd take it back apart and hide it under the bed because, he's going to take it, and he just takes stuff from you. If you had a bicycle, he would just punish you with it and take it from you. So now I get to lift weights freely. I got a weight bench in my room, and I'm reading Black Belt magazine. I love martial arts. I'm trying to learn karate moves. And I got this older brother who's always wrestling with me and everything. We're getting in fights. We're still in the church. They got sports going on and everything. So I'm just totally vested in that, and I'm just eating it up. And there was a lot of men in the church that were good role models. And so now I'm going through my life. I won all these teenage bodybuilding shows, and I'm still in high school. So my mom wouldn't let me play football. I'm a great athlete, but she wouldn't let me do the worldly things, if you will. It was always church on the weekend. Might have had some Bible studies during the week. It was very strict. And so I stayed in those sports from school. Away from school and just the church stuff. And so the bodybuilding takes over. I'm winning all these teenage shows, Teenage Mr. Modesto, Teenage Sacramento, Teenage California, all of these. And then and I keep staying in karate. I'm going to these karate tournaments. I'm the Karate Kid. I'm literally Daniel LaRusso. My name's Dan Freeman. I'm Daniel Freeman, and I'm the Karate Kid. So I'm going to all these tournaments and winning these tournaments and trophies and in the magazine. So I'm doing both of these things. So I get into I'm a man now. I'm older than 18. I'm out of the teenage. So I start doing the bodybuilding some more. I'm in the men's division. And I wasn't winning like I was. So I'm doing all this men's bodybuilding. I'm doing karate. When I'm going to the men's show now, I'm not winning the shows. I'm taking seconds and thirds. Like I'm not big enough. And it's really starting to affect me. Like, what do I need to do? I need to get into this more. And so I keep training. I'm only about 225, 30 pounds in the off season. So I need to get bigger. And they're telling me, you need to get these body parts and fill out some more. So I'm doing all that. Next thing you know, I'm winning these shows too. Now I'm winning the same titles, in the men's division. I'm Mr. Sacramento, Mr. San Francisco, all this stuff, and this big name, and I'm going to the Nationals now, and Mr. California, going to the USA. The USA is a huge show. It's like anybody who's anybody shows up to the USA, and then we're so big now. I'm 250 something pounds, and when I compete in the off season, I'm like 290, 300 pounds, and so they created a new group for us, a super heavyweight group, like 225 pounds on up. So I'm with this elite group of guys. So I'm just focusing on the bodybuilding. And, I start winning. I'm on the cover of all these magazines. And here I came from nothing and had this stepdad doing his thing with me and all this stuff in my mind that you'll never amount to anything. You'll never be anything. You're worthless. And he believed that. It was hard for me to look people in the eye. If I liked a girl and there's two girls standing and I couldn't look at the one I liked, I would stare at the other one and talk to her. And so this one never even knew I had an attraction for her. So it was really, my mind was really messed up. But I don't realize why I'm going to the gym so much. And I've got a good job. I'm treating cancer patients, radiation therapy. I get off work and like another stress reliever, I just go to the gym. So I'm just focusing on that So here I am on all these magazines now, Flex Magazine, Muscular Development, Iron Man. And when you hit that magazine and you weren't supposed to mount anything, you know, the world holds you up on that. I remember getting the magazine and going home and just sitting there and staring at it like, wow, that's me. I did something. So, you know, the lies that I was never going to be anything. And then now the world is, you know, admonishing, you know, me and I'm making money and doing this, you know, I'm down in LA and I'm living the dream. And I have a beautiful wife now and a big house, a rental house, cars, motorcycles. So I'm doing good. I meet Ken Shamrock, the world's most dangerous man, the MMA fighter. Pretty much him and Hoist Gracie were the forefathers. They laid the groundwork for this and created this, you know, the UFC back in the day. And so I'm like, I want in that because Ken called me and I became a sparring partner. We're training together. Was in Lodi, and he had the name of his dojo was the Lion's Den. We were an elite fighting team. We were the Lion's Den. And I handled all the guys, you know, we're all fighting, and I'm doing their diets and everything and teaching them how to train. I mean, we were an elite alpha team, and everybody knows the name that knows MMA, knows the Lion's Den. And so a little glitch in the UFC and how it's going. Ken has to start getting into WWF, it was called back then. So, you know, wrestling, so that takes off, and then the UFC comes back again. So all this is going on. So here I'm living this dream, so to speak. Ken's living it. We're all like living it together. And then something was missing. I couldn't explain it. I would wake up like with anxiety, and something was missing. And I'm like, what is going on? And I remember I have everything, but it's like I didn't know who I was. I didn't know who I am. And I got out of bodybuilding, and we're still traveling around. I opened up a stereo shop. I'm doing that. And all of a sudden, it was around Christmas time. And I'm in the mall, and I'm walking through the mall. And I went into the restroom, and somebody, before I used the restroom, where you go in and sit down and shut the door, someone was in there. And then I went out in after him. He put it's called a track. And it's a little pamphlet, a little flyer, and it says something, you know, like regarding religion. I remember going in there and looking at that. And then when the guy walked out, he looked back and looked at me several times. And I'm like, well, that's kind of weird. I remember sitting down and I'm looking at this. And it had a picture of Jesus on the cross, and he was all bloody. And I just said, wow, it just really affected me. And it said, the caption on there was, all this I did for you, I did for thee. I remember grabbing it and leaving the mall and going home. It's close to Christmas time. I remember getting home, and I'm in this big house, this 5-bedroom house, gated community. And I'm in the extra bathroom. And I remember kneeling down. I'd been reading my Bible at a time. My mom had bought me a Bible years ago. It has my name on it. And you know, I was in there reading. I'd been reading the last couple months, like a soul searching thing. You know, I knew the Bible, but I got away from it. I was all done with church. I didn't want to go to church anymore. I'm just being Dan. You know, I'm living the dream, so to speak. I remember looking at that track, and I remember opening it up, and it said something on the back, and it wanted you to sign it at the bottom after you read it. And what it said was, I can still remember it, and I have it memorized. It was Romans 10:9, and it said, if you believe in your heart and speak through your mouth and confess with your mouth that Jesus Christ is the Son of God and he was sent down here, and he died for our sins and he rose again, you can come to him, and anybody who does this shall be saved and have eternal life. And it had a place to sign it and date it. And it says, and nobody gets to the Father except through me. I'd always known God. I'd pray to God, and I didn't really use Jesus for anything except at the very end of a prayer in Jesus Christ's name, like we all do. There's always just God. I was just talking to God, dealing with God when I was younger and in church. Now I'm specifically, they say they're one. He's the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. But now I'm just focusing on him and on that track. And then I sign it and date it. I don't know what happened. I got up off my knees. Within a week, the whole house was gone. I was just like in some euphoria. Going through a divorce. Furniture was all gone. Wife's moving out. Going through the divorce. There's a sign in the front yard. It was, I can only way to explain it when I give this testimony. It was like a storm came in, just like a hurricane, and everything was just wiped out. And I didn't know which way was up or down. I remember the house was empty, and it was just me and him. I would open my Bible. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who to turn to, who I was. I didn't know who I was. I wasn't doing drugs. I wasn't drinking, and I was just. And then each day from there, people were calling, coming by here and there. And the family really didn't do anything. They didn't check up on you. It was just me and him. And I remember later on, as I'm getting through this and taking the steps to get back to good where I was, and my life is getting put in place, that we all kind of stopped talking to each other. Ken Shamrock and me and a few other guys. And I remember getting baptized. I was going to a church out here where my mom attended, and I started going back to that. And I got baptized around Father's Day. I remember the exact date and everything. I was just sitting there thinking right now, just visualizing that, and how awesome it was that all of a sudden that I went through something like that and what it meant to me. And when I talked to Ken and these other guys, we're all talking and catching up, and we hadn't talked to each other in a minute. We'd all realize, hey, I got baptized. Oh, me too. Oh, me too. We all within like 6 weeks of each other, this whole group, about 7 guys. And that was confirmation to me. It's like, wow, we haven't even talked. We kind of went off and, going our separate ways, so to speak, and but we're still friends. And then when we get on the phone and talk to each other, we realized that this happened, and it was just so real that God is so real that he would do something like that he's calling every one of us, as they say. God calls you. Many are called, but few are chosen. So now I don't have an issue of who I am now or what I'm supposed to be doing. He's in my life. I turn to him for everything, even on good days, but bad days. There's so much hurt in the world, and everybody's going through something. But that's what he's done for me. That's what I've turned to. And I'm with the Soldiers of the Cross group right now. We're here in Modesto, and we do stuff all over the world. We do missionary work: Romania, Cambodia, Belize, Mexico. And we don't really belong to a church. Then we got nothing against church, or some of us attend to the churches around here. But we come alongside churches. We're not trying to start a church. We don't ask anybody for anything. We just come alongside churches and wherever we need to be. I specifically go over to the mission, the Modesto Gospel Mission, and I volunteer over there. Not just serving food or something like that, like a mentorship with the guys. They have a new life program over there for about 30 guys. And you go in and you sit down and you talk to them and lift them up and pray with them and share the word. And they get so much out of it. I feel like I get more out of it than they do. I even feel selfish sometimes, but that's just the way God is. He's just, he loves us so much. So yeah, I don't have the issue or the question of who I am now. What am I supposed to be doing? What's my purpose? Guys like me and many of you are the same way. If we don't achieve our destiny, we might as well lay down and die. So I know who I am now, what I'm supposed to be doing. Thank you for listening.